Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryanta Vande Guru Paramparam. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badharayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram. Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. We have been discussing the three gunas, and we have already seen Rajas and Tamo guna in the earlier classes. And last week, we were talking about Sattva guna. And Bhashyakara Shankaracharya divides the Sattva guna itself into three types, as it were. One is called Malina Sattva guna. Malina, weak. Sattva guna is there, but it is overpowered by Rajas and Tamas. And it was described as Sattvam Vishuddham Jalavat Tatapi Tabhyam Militva Saranaya Kalpate Yatra Atmabimba Pratibimba San Prakashayati Arkaiva Akilam Jadam. A person who is under this kind of Malina Sattva guna is a samsari, because Rajas and Tamas dominate in his life. And that is Malina Sattva guna. Then the next type is Mishra Sattva guna, in which Rajas and Tamas are there, but they do not overpower. So Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, they are almost equal. So it's a mix of all that. None of the gunas dominate. and that was defined as Mishrasya Sattvasya Bhavanti Dharmaha Tvamam Tvam Anitaatya Niyama Yamatyah Shraddha cha Bhaktischa Mumuksuta cha Daivi cha Sampadir Asannivrittihi. Therefore, he has good values such as humility, good discipline is there in his life. He has faith, devotion, desire for liberation. Such divine qualities are there. But then Rajas and Tamas also show up. So it's a mediocre, something middling. Then we come to the third type, which is Shuddha Sattvam or Vishuddha Sattvam, in which Sattva is dominant. So Rajoguna and Tamoguna are very much under control. They are subservient to Sattva. And Vishuddha Sattvasya Gunaha Prasadaha Swatmanubhutihi Parama Prashantihi Triptihi Praharshaha Paramatmanishta Yaya Sadanandarasam Samrachati. So, someone who is endowed with such sattva, this Shuddha Sattva, Sattva Guna, these are what you will see. It expresses as tranquility, ability to know one's own true nature. Supreme peace will be there. He will be at ease with everyone. He will be content. There will be fulfillment in his life. He would not be craving for this and that. There will be abidance in the knowledge, eternal bliss. All that will be there. So we have seen this in the last class. Now we continue. We come to the definition of Karana Sharira in verse 120. So let us read. Avyaktameta trigunairniruktam Avyaktameta trigunairniruktam Tatkaranam nama shariramatmanah Tatkaranam nama shariramatmanah Shushuptiretasya vibhaktyavastha Sushuptiretasya vibhaktyavastha Pralina sarvendriya buddhivrittihi Pralina sarvendriya buddhivrittihi Avyaktameta trigunairniruktam Tatkaranam nama shariramatmanah Shushuptiretasya vibhaktyavastha Pralina sarvendriya buddhivrittihi. If you recall, in verse 108, we saw the definition for Maya. And there, Bhagavan Shankaracharya said only, Avyakta namni paramesha shaktihi, anadi avidya trigunatmika para, karyanumeya sudiyaiva maya, yaya jagat sarvam idam prasuyate. He said that there is a Shakti for the Lord, a power of the Lord is there, which is Paramesha Shakti. Very powerful, supreme powerful of that Paramesha. Avidya. And it is also called Avyaktam. It is Trigunatmika, etc., it was said. But he did not say why he is discussing Maya, why he is defining Maya and all that. He just defined it with all these terms, described it. After discussing Sthula Sharira and then Sukshma Sharira, he entered into Maya discussion without telling us why. Now, in this verse, he says, hey, that Maya, which I talked about there till now, that is the Karna Sharira. So, after Sthula Sharira, Sukma Sharira, coming to Karna Sharira, he laid the groundwork in discussing Maya. Therefore, he says, Yetad Avyaktam. This Avyaktam is another name for Maya, the unmanifest principle. Avyakta means unmanifest, which is the seed of the universe. The entire creation comes from that. Therefore, we call it the seed, universal seed. And this said to be consisting of Trigunaihi Niruktam. Consists of these three gunas, the Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas that we just finished talking about. Then he says, Karanam Nama. That is called Karana Sharira, the causal body. Atmanah, of the Atma. This means whether the individual body mind is resolved or whether the total creation gets resolved, the experience will be the same. At the individual level, when the body and mind gets resolved, we go into deep sleep. At that time, we don't have any experience of this world. In totality, that sleep is called laya. In totality is called pralaya. Prakarshena laya. Everything goes to sleep. The entire creation is folded. Is it possible to do that? It's not possible for you and I. How are we going to break each one and then dissolve them, destruct them, and take them to the unmanifest conditions? We cannot do that, but Ishvara can do that. And how was it before creation? And during that time, during that pralaya time, how will it be? The scriptures say that you and I need not destroy the world to know the condition of Maya. To get an idea what this Maya is, this avidya is, you don't have to do that exercise of destroying the whole creation and looking at what is there. And that is also not possible because you are also part of creation. Okay, when everything is destroyed, you got to destroy yourself. And who is going to see what? So we are not talking about trying to get a handle on that situation by destroying the entire creation. But we have a clue. We experience it daily, as a matter of fact. And what is that? That is a sushupti, deep sleep. Every day when we go to sleep, in that sleep, all my sense organs are resolved. Your jnanendriyas, eyes, ears, etc., they're not seeing anything, they're not hearing anything. Okay? And your karmendriyas are organs of action. You're not walking, you're not talking. Some people talk in that sleep, but that's a different thing. Okay? We're not talking about such situations. So, deliberately, consciously, none of those activities are taking place. And the body awareness is not there. Your mind is also not functioning. You are not thinking, planning, you're not worrying, nothing. So the body, mind, sense organs, everything is resolved. The world is not resolved. The rest of the world is awake and everything is happening over there. But for you, nothing is happening. Okay. Wars may be going on throughout the world. You are not watching the news. You are not relating to what's going on in the world. For you, the world is as though resolved. Therefore, in deep sleep, what you really experience is that pralaya avastha, the causal state. So, experientially, there is no difference between pralaya and laya. But there is a technical difference between pralaya and sushupti. The technical difference is in pralaya, the world is actually the creation is folded back, totally resolved. It's nothing. Everything goes back to unmanifest. Manifestation is not there. The universe is not there. But in sushupti, the individual sleep, the world is seemingly resolved for you because you're not experiencing anything. It's only the technical difference, but not in your experience per se. So, sushupti is the karana sharira of Atma. So, to get a clue about this, you can go through your individual experience. What is the unique state of karana sharira in which it plays the predominant role, as it were? He says, sushuptihi etasya avastha. The deep sleep state is the state in Karana Sharira is dominant. Why? Because the Sthula Sharira function and the Sukshma Sharira function are all as if swallowed by this Karana Sharira. How do you know that Karana Sharira has swallowed all that? Because when you wake up, when you get up from sleep, all that, all your emotions, all your worries, all your problems are again born out of the same Karana Sharira. They don't go away. You just laid them to rest for a few hours, that's all. Therefore, he says, Sushuptihi etasya vibhakti avastha. The deep sleep state is vibhakti avastha. This distinct state. Sthula Sharira is dominant in Jagrata Avastha. Your gross body, very active in the waking state. You are running about, doing this, doing that, all that. Not that Sukshma Sharira is not there. During waking state, Sukshma Sharira, mind which is part of it, must be there. You're not mindlessly running around. You are mindfully living. It is there. But Sukshma Sharira just backs up the Sthula Sharira. So the predominant Sharira in the waking state is the gross body. But when you go to the dream state, Swapna Avastha, the Sukshma Sharira becomes dominant. Everything is a mental projection. Your physical body, gross body, the other sense organs, etc., they are not active. It's all mental projection. So we say Sukshma Sharira is dominant in the dream state. But when we come to deep sleep, in Sushupti, both the Sthula and the Sukshma, the gross and subtle body, they are dormant. They're not functioning. They've not gone away because when you wake up again, they spring back to life. So Sushupti etasya vibhakti avastha, deep sleep, is unique in this respect. The definition of Sushupti is Pralina Sarva Indriya Buddhi Vrittihi, a stage in which all the functions are resolved. That's all. Pralina. Weakened very much. So much so, they are not functioning at all. The Vrittihi. means the function of Sarva Indriya Buddhi. All the 10 external organs, Jnanendriya, Karmendriya, they are not functioning. And then Antakarana also. Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. None of it is there. Even if the hands move and the body rolls over in sleep, they are not conscious actions. We do not consider sleepwalking as a function because it is not deliberate. Talking in your sleep, walking in your sleep, they are not deliberate functions. They are all pralina, totally resolved in deep sleep. Not only are the functions of the sense organs resolved, buddhi avritihi, the functions of the antakarana, the inner instruments, mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankar. You don't remember things in deep sleep. Upon waking up, you may remember that I slept well. But that bringing back into memory happens in the waking state. I'm in deep sleep. I was thinking about my wonderful experience. Nothing happens like that. Ahankara, ego is also not there. So your deliberations, your emotions, feelings, nothing is there. And you are not making conscious decisions in sleep. Nothing happens. So antakarana is not functioning. The external organs are also not functioning. But there is one function that continues. And thank God it does. What is that? Prana. The pancha pranas continue. Thank God. If the pranas also take a break, nobody will go to sleep. And if the pranas also go to sleep, then there will not be any difference between sleep and death. When that final breath leaves, that is not called sleep, that is death. So, little bit more permanent sleep is death. If you start looking at death that way, that is less scary. I've been sleeping every day. This death is going to be a little longer only. That's all. Why all? In any case, all the functions except prana are resolved in deep sleep. Such a state is called sushupti avastha, deep sleep state, in which the karana sharira is dominant. Because everything is in the seedal form, the bija. It's all there, it's not expressing. So that is what we call karana sharira, karana avastha. Continuing verse 121, he says, Sarva prakara pramiti prashantihi. Sarva prakara pramiti prashantihi. Bijatmanavasthitireva buddhe. Bijatmanavasthitireva buddhe. Sushuptiretasya kila pratitihi. Sushuptiretasya kila pratitihi. Kinchinna vedmiti jagat prasiddhe. Kinchinna vedmiti jagat prasiddhe. Sarva prakara pramiti prashantihi. Bijatmanavasthitireva buddhe. Tiretasya kila pratitihi. Kinchinna vedmiti jagat prasiddhe. This shloka is almost the same as the previous one. It says Sushupti is Sarva Prakara Pramiti Prashantihi. So this deep sleep state, Sushupti Avastha, is a state in which pramiti means cognitive processes, processes of knowing things, prashanti, they are resolved, they are quietened. Sarva prakara, all knowing processes are resolved. You don't gain any new knowledge in sleep. You don't get any knowledge. You don't even have the knowledge of your external surroundings. All knowing processes are resolved. In Vedanta, you may remember, there are 6 pramanas, 6 ways of knowing things. Pratyaksha, direct perception. Anumana, inference. Shabda, shabda means sound, word, or scriptures. Scriptures are called Shabda Pramana. Upamana, comparison. Arthapatti, Anupalapti. Premises, surmising, and then the negative inferences. Something not being there leads to a conclusion. Anupalapti. These 6 pramanas, I will not discuss all this. I've talked about it before. Not very important in this context. In different ways. This process of knowing is called pramitihi. The means is called pramanam. The means with which you know. The operation, the process is called pramitihi. The eye is the pramana, means of. The operation, the seeing, the vision, that is called pramiti. That's all. So he's using the word pramiti and I'm explaining that, that's all. The Shabda Pramanam is also called Shastra Pramanam. Because in those days, everything was taught by saying, repeating, and hearing. So it is called Shabda Praman, Shastra. The process through which the analysis of Shastra is done and understanding is achieved, that is called Pramitihi. Hence Shankaracharya says, all these 6 ways of knowing, all methods, all means of knowing, and the knowing process, operation, all that is suspended in deep sleep. Because all these operations are done by buddhi. How do you know things? Through the intellect. And the intellect is dormant. It's not functioning in deep sleep. So all the operations are done by buddhi, which is the pramata, the knower. The instruments are called pramanam, the process is called pramiti, and the object of knowledge is called prameyam. Thus, the pramata, by operating the pramanam, comes to know the prameyam through the process called pramiti. None of that is functioning. Pramata, pramanam, pramiti, prameyam. The knower, the means of knowledge, the process of knowing, and the object of knowing, all in suspension. See, I'm using the word suspended, suspension. I don't say they are destroyed. All these faculties are very much there, but in a latent condition, dormant condition. So that is said here, buddhehe bijatmana avastitihi eva. Bija means seed. So they are in the form of a seed in a dormant state. Comes a huge tree. Everything that is going to come out is potentially there. In the same way, in this Karana Avastha, everything is in that seedal form. It is not a manifest condition, it's not a functional condition. It is non-operative, hibernation. bears hibernate. During that time, the metabolism rate is almost nil. Nature has given the power of suspending everything. That is the nirvikalpaka samadhi of those animals. What I say is, do not take the nirvikalpa samadhi is a great thing. The bears doing it during winter. They do it naturally. They're programmed to do it. And you do it by practicing yoga. Anyway, that's a side point. This is called sushupti, where everything is suspended. Now, etasya sushuptihi kila pratitihi. How do we experience this sleep state? What does it look like? How does it feel? He says, kinchinna vedmiti jagat prasiddhehe. It is prasiddha. Everyone experiences this sushupti, deep sleep, as kinchinna vedmiti. I did not know anything. When you wake up, this is what you say. What did you do in your sleep? What did you find out? I didn't know a thing. I slept like a log of wood. That is the pratiti. This is the feeling in deep sleep. And Shankaracharya says, Jagat prasiddhehe. Every human being has experienced this. This is common knowledge. Everyone knows this. Right here, in the middle of the class, here also you can intensely go to Sushupti Avastha, deep sleep. If you were to do that, and I notice that, and I call on you, and ask you, what do you think about what I just said now? You would say, I don't know. Or, can you repeat that question? Throw a little bit more light on what you said. You try to talk around it. But luckily, since we are online, okay, you can turn the video off and go to sleep. And I can't even know that's going on. Anyway. So the experience of everyone is, I know nothing. You have no clue as to what is happening around the world. Anything around, you don't. And it is not just your experience. In deep sleep, nobody knows anything. It is a universally well-known experience of everyone. Prasiddha. Then he says, verse 122, देहेन्द्रिय प्राणमनोहमादयः देहेन्द्रिय प्राणमनोहमादयः सर्वे विकारा विषया सुखादयः सर्वे विकारा विषया सुखादयः व्योमादिभूतान्यखिलं न विश्वम् व्योमादिभूतान्यखिलं न विश्वम् अव्यक्तपर्यन्तमिदं ह्यनात्मा अव्यक्तपर्यन्तमिदं ह्यनात्मा देहेन्द्रियप्राणमनोहमाद सर्वे विकारा विषया सुखादयः व्योमादिभूतान्यखिलं न विश्वम् अव्यक्तपर्यन्तमिदं ह्यनात्मा. So with the previous sloka, 121, the Karana Sharira topic is over. This is a subtopic under Anatma. The main topic of discussion is Anatma. And even before that, you must remember, don't forget, the 7 questions the student asks. Ko nama bandha katamesha agata katam pratishtasya katam vimoksha kosavanatma paramah katma tayor viveka katamedyudichyata. So, what is this anatma was one of the questions. So, that is what we have been discussing. So, don't forget that important words I've told you. Before you get to the answers, you must know what the question is. And all those 7 questions are there. And then the anatma topic discussion started in verse 72. We've come all the way up to 122. So from that verse, under the Anatma topic, he dealt with the Stula Sharira, the Sukshma Sharira, the Karna Sharira. So from verse 72 to 121, the 3 Shariras or Anatma in general are talked about. Now, the following 2 verses, 122, 123, Bhashyakara winds up the topic of Anatma. Here he adds an extra note. Equally important. In that Sharira Trayam, the 3 bodies, we should include the entire Prapancha Trayam. When I say Sharira, we're talking about the individual, the body, Jiva. So whenever we say Sharira, we're talking about the individual. But in quite a few texts, they don't differentiate between individual and total. So instead of Shariratrayam, we call it Prapanchatrayam. The gross world, subtle world, causal world. So he's making that point. We should include the entire Prapanchatrayam, the 3 worlds also. Along with the Stula Sharira, you should include Stula Prapancha, the gross world. Along with Sukshma Sharira, you should include Sukshma Prapancha, subtle world. Along with Karna Sharira, you have to add Karana Prapancha, the causal world also. That the entire cosmos of our experience is Anatma, be it your individual experience or the experience of the world. So look at the verse, Akhilam idam vishvam. The whole, this whole universe that we experience, he anatma is indeed anatma. It is the not self. It is not atma. It's the not self. When I say whatever I experience, it consists of 3 things. The external world is an object of experience. My own body, that also we experience. And my mind, that is also an object of experience. You know the conditions of your mind. I am happy, I am sad, I am kind, I am cruel, all that you know. So whether it is the mind or your body or the external world, these are all the objects of experience. If everything I experience is anatma, there is nothing other than what I experience, there be atma at all. Because this is what we know. We know about our body, we know the condition of the mind, the outside world we know. And all of them you've written off as an atma. Then what is this atma you're talking about? So from this, we get an important deduction that Atma is never experienced by anyone as an object. It's true that everything that you experience is an Atma. And you flip it around and say, Atma is never experienced. Therefore, no one should work for Atma experience. Time to time you hear people saying, I am looking for that Brahma Anubhava, Atma Anubhuti. So we have to be very careful when we run into those terms. They are used, but it is not as an object of experience. Object of experience it is not. If I do and get any experience, be darn sure it is anatma. It may be some ordinary experience or extraordinary experience, a mystical experience. It is anatma. That's not it. Never claim you had an Atma experience. Never look for Atma experience. Because it is never experienced. If it is experienced, it is Anatma. So that's why Bhashyakara says, Idam Akilam Vishwam Anatma. The entire universe is the not self. Then he adds an adjective, Avyakta Paryantam. When I say Vishwam, we should also include the causal form of the universe. It includes Maya, Avyaktam also. Not only Karya Prapancha, the manifest universe is Anatma, but it includes Avyakta condition, Karana condition. Maya also. Maya is very powerful. It is still Anatma. That's why we say, even in Shruti, when you have a blank experience, that blankness also comes under Vishwam, which is Karana Prapancha. Don't call it the Atma. That is what the Shunyavadis have done. Remember, elsewhere we talked about the Buddhist nihilism. They did all this and came to that blankness and they called that Atma. That is also an Atma only. Karana condition. Avyakta avastha. Manifest condition. So what you call shunyam or blankness is not nothingness. Shunyam, zero is not emptiness. Zero is the potential form of the entire cosmos. That zero is anatma only. Then avyakta paryantam, up to Maya, including Maya, idam sarvam anatma. This is the not self. Having made a general statement, now he gives the details. Sarve vikaraha. All the products are anatma, the not self. Here vikara means product. The word vikara has two meanings. The other meaning is modification. For example, a child is born and it grows to become a youth and then an adult. All these changes are called vikara. In those contexts, vikara should not be translated as product. Those are modifications, those are changes. But in this verse, what he calls vikara, the meaning is to be translated as an effect, as a product. We say all ornaments are vikara of gold. All furniture, vikara of wood, like that. The entire creation is called vikara because it's a product. Therefore, sarve vikara, all karyas are anatma. The entire world is an effect. Your body, your mind, everything, product. The karyam itself can be subdivided. All products can be subdivided. And he has subdivided neatly. Now, when you take the entire anatma, first you can broadly divide into karya prapancha and karana prapancha. Then karya prapancha we will subdivide into two. Bhuta prapancha, the 5 elements. And then bhautika prapancha, products of the 5 elements. That's what he says. Vyomadi bhutani. Vyoma means space. Vyoma adi. Space, etc. You know the 5 elements. Space, air, fire, water, and earth. 5 elements. Beginning with akasha, vyoma, akasha, space. These 5 elements, they are also anatma. And so also are bhautika prapancha. From those elements, after grossification, etc., the world is produced. So all that physical world, bhautika prapancha itself, can be again divided into bahya bhautika and anta bhautika, external and internal. Bahya bhautika prapancha, the external products of the world. And antara, internal bhautika, internal subjective world. So anatma has been divided into karana prapancha and karya prapancha. The karya prapancha has been divided into bhuta and bhautika prapancha. The bhautika prapancha can be divided into bahya and antara, external and internal. The subjective bhautika prapancha is given in the first line. The deha, the sthula sharira, the gross body, the annamaya kosha, the indriya sense organs, prana, the 5 pranas, the pranamaya kosha, mana, the mind, manomaya kosha, aham adaya, vijnanamaya kosha. All of them come under subjective bhautika prapancha. Subject, individual. Then vishayaha means the external bhautika prapancha. Objects, vishaya, objects, bhautika prapancha. Sense object, shabda sarsha, rupa rasagandha. So many objects are there, but they can all be put into these 5 categories. The subjective bhautika prapancha called the body-mind complex and the objective bhautika prapancha called the external world. Both of them interact constantly. Indriyani indriyarte vartante, gunaha guneshu vartante. Where have you heard this? The Gita. So they are constantly interacting. They produce varieties of responses in the form of sukha dukkha. And in the Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter, Bhagavan also uses the word kshetram. What we are is the entire kshetram along with its properties. Properties are sukham, dukkham, raga, dvesha, etc. All of them. The whole thing, and there is one word also which is useful and technical. He uses the word idam. Idam means this. This. Idam. This entire universe. is Anatma. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna uses the word idam shariram, this body. So according to Vedanta, the whole world consists of only two things. Two things only. Aham, I, the subject. And idam, this world. That's all, only two things. Aham is Chetanam, sentient, conscious. Idam, Achetanam. Shankaracharya is excluding the word aham from anatma by using the word idam, which would be discussed hereafter. Therefore, idam jada jagat anatma. This inert world is the not self. Aham, Atma Chaitanya. And that will be discussed next. We will see one concluding verse on Anatma next class, and then we will start the discussion on Atma. Okay? Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.